Hey guys, it's Gina and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome to the Curly Hair Care for Beginners playlist. This series goes into depth about how to start your curly hair journey, how to take care of your naturally curly hair, and I break it down in really simple, easy to follow steps if you're a beginner because I know it's really overwhelming. So I'm gonna make this easy for you and hopefully this video will be short, although I tend to go pretty detailed with my videos. But this one is gonna be all about the actual steps to start the curly girl method and to kick off your journey because it can be really overwhelming. Like I said, I did do a video all about what is the curly girl method, and that kind of goes into detail about what it actually means, what ingredients you need to look for in your products and all that kind of stuff, and just makes it very simple. So this is going to be more of like the follow-up to that is like, okay, now that you know the information, here's what you gotta do. So the first step is going to be to go through your products. After you've learned about the ingredients that you want to avoid, you want to go through your entire product stash, put the ones aside that have silicones, sulfates, and parabens, but you mostly want to worry about the silicones and the sulfates. Actually, no, wait, keep a sulfate shampoo because I will get to that in a second, but make sure that that sulfate shampoo does not have silicones in it. So if you want to stick with the curly girl method, that's what it is avoiding those ingredients, but some people don't really mind using those ingredients, to each your own. But for me, I personally don't find that my hair responds well with silicones. They just weigh down my hair. They make the curls really limp, and I will insert some pictures here back when I was using silicone-based products of how bad that my hair looked, how much looser it was, and how much healthier and more bouncy and curlier it is now. So I'm speaking from experience here, but everyone has their preference on the type of products that they like to use. But if you want to follow the curly girl method, you want to go through all of your products, really read the ingredients. This is one thing that I learned the hard way about. So several years ago, I bought a drugstore line that just said sulfate free, and I assumed that that meant it was safe to use on my curls, but it actually had a ton of different silicones in it. And I've even seen products that say that they're silicone free or they're natural or whatever, but if you actually look at the ingredients, there's silicones in there. And I can't believe that sometimes they can print that on the packaging. Maybe they think they can get away with it if they think that they're water soluble silicones, but still, I just like to avoid silicones altogether. So make sure you're reading the ingredients. There's a really helpful website I love called CurlsBot. You can pretty much copy and paste the ingredients list, paste it right into there, and it will give you a detailed overview if it's curly girl method approved or not, and it will tell you in detail which of those ingredients are harmful for your hair. So that's a really quick, easy way, and if you're not sure of the ingredients, you can just do a quick Google search and you can find them on the product listing page on any retailer and just copy and paste them right over. So that's really helpful. So after you have gotten rid of the products that you no longer can use, I recommend donating them or giving them to friends and family that don't really care about following the curly girl method, or maybe people who have straight hair. Then you're obviously going to want to get the products that you need. And I'm probably going to do a separate video on this because I think it would be fun to kind of take you along shopping in the store or something like that. It can be challenging sometimes to find the perfect routine, but it definitely takes a lot of testing, lots of trial and error to really find what works best for you. I have tons of reviews on products here on my channel. One of my all-time favorites is the Dippity Doo Girls with Curls Jelly. It's like $6 at TJ Maxx or Marshalls. They also have it on Amazon. So it's a really affordable option. So I will link you to the review video that I have on that. So that's a great option to start off. Anything from Shea Moisture is Curly Girl Method approved. Not Your Mother's is a really great affordable line, but you do have to check the ingredients because the Curl Talk line is all sulfate and silicone free, but some of their other products in their line might not be. So I definitely recommend still reading the ingredients. There's a bunch of other brands and stuff that I recommend. Even Garnier Fructis does have their Curl Treats line that is sulfate and silicone free. So that is another option as well if you're looking for good drugstore affordable brands, especially if you're a beginner, you might not want to invest a lot of money in it. If you're not quite worried about price, I would recommend like Diva Curl. They're definitely one of my favorites. Love their products. Ouidad has some really good ones, but again, you still have to check the ingredients on that brand as well. So just keep that in mind. Just because some products from a brand might be curly girl method approved, other ones in their line might not be. So it's definitely important to get to know those ingredients. Once you start recognizing them, then it's just a lot easier when you're shopping for products once you get used to looking for those ingredients. One other thing I wanted to mention with products is it's important to find products that are right for your hair type. So if you have a looser curl pattern or waves, you're obviously not going to want to go with heavy butters, creams, and oils because those are going to weigh down your hair. So it's important to know your hair type, know your hair porosity, which that's going to be a whole nother video. I still need to do that as part of this playlist. So it's important to know the type of hair you have so you make sure you choose the right products. If your hair is heavier or really tight and coily, then you can go for those heavier products. So just keep that in mind. Next, you're going to want to put away your heat styling tools. I have a basket tucked way away in my closet full of straighteners and curling irons, blow dryers, all that kind of stuff, blow drying brushes, anything that is heat damaging for my hair. Now, the true curly girl method definitely recommends using no heat, like diffusing your hair on cold. I don't personally do that, so I don't strictly follow the method. I definitely modify it to fit me because I like to use heat on my hair to actually dry it with a diffuser though. So if you don't already have a diffuser attachment, I will include that in my Amazon page, which is linked down below. It also has tons of tools and stuff on there that I recommend. But I would recommend doing that and just using very low heat and low airflow, and also alternating between warm and cold air if you're gonna diffuse. But other than that, put away the straighteners if it's out of sight, out of mind, because you obviously don't want to damage the hard work that you're putting into trying to get your hair healthy. Next, you're going to obviously want to get a trim to trim off those dead ends. Now, some people recommend a big chop, which is where you just completely cut off all of the dead ends and you're left with really short hair that you have to try to grow out. I didn't personally do that. I just get my hair trimmed like every 8 weeks or so, gradually get the damage trimmed off. But the key is you cannot be re-damaging your hair with heat if you're getting a trim, because then it's just gonna get shorter. It's not gonna grow because you're just damaging and splitting those fresh ends that you just got cut. So I do have a video all about curly haircuts and trims, and I talk about what I usually get at the salon. I don't go to a specific curly hair salon or anything, so just a regular stylist. I talk about tips on what to ask for when you go. And so I definitely recommend checking out that video, and I talk about, you know, how frequently I get trims and all that kind of stuff. You would be surprised though at how much getting a trim really makes a difference with curls, and you'll see in that video how much my hair just bounces back up, even with just having the slightest little bit of trim, like a dusting, makes such a difference. So if your hair is looking lifeless, if it's really tangly, if you're getting little fairy knots at the end of your hair, or it's just feeling dry, then a small trim is gonna make a big difference. So one of the most important steps to actually kicking off your curly hair journey is to clarify your hair. And I actually did a whole video again on this topic. So a lot of these steps I've actually done full videos on, so I hope that's helpful for you. But you do want to clarify to remove all of that product buildup and silicone buildup. If you've previously been using silicone ingredients in your hair, you obviously want to remove that, have a clean slate. In that video, I talk about how you can do an apple cider vinegar rinse at home, which is a great easy way to remove silicones, or you can just use your sulfate shampoo, but be that the last time that you use it, or use it less frequently. But if you use that sulfate shampoo, then it's gonna remove those silicones once and for all, but just don't go in with a silicone-based conditioner afterwards. So starting with a clean slate is just to make sure that everything is off of your hair. It's not gonna be weighed down from those silicones, and you can start fresh with your new silicone-free products. So the next step would be to condition and deep condition. So again, I have a video all about deep conditioning, but it is so important, and this is probably the most important step I would say other than clarifying, is to deep condition at least once a week. It's kind of hard to get in that routine, but once you do it once a week, you're gonna see the difference that it makes, and you're gonna know when your hair needs that deep conditioner. I just did a deep conditioning treatment today, and it makes such a difference. I also use a hothead heat cap with it, which is just a microwavable heat cap. You can use that as well, but you don't have to. Just leave a deep conditioner on your hair for at least 20 minutes once a week, and you're gonna notice a world of difference. So easy to do, and I just rinse it out and I'm good to go ahead and style. And it makes a big difference for dry hair. It makes a difference with tangly hair, especially in the winter time. I definitely recommend deep conditioning. But again, make sure those deep conditioners don't have silicones, or else you're just putting those silicones right back on your hair. Next step is you're going to want to get a couple handy tools. Now these are not completely necessary, but they do make a big difference. The most important thing I would probably recommend getting is a satin bonnet to sleep in. This is going to help preserve your hair, because when you're following the curly girl method, you're not shampooing your hair every single day anymore. You're washing it a lot less frequently, and you might be wondering, well, how am I going to go more than one day with the same style and not restyling my hair if you're used to washing it every day? And the key is wearing a satin bonnet to sleep. So it keeps your hair up off of your neck. You're not getting any tangles, you're not getting breakage. It's preserving your style and keeping your hair close to your head, so when you let it down in the morning, it still has good curl definition, good bounce, and it's not too tangly. And then you can go in and refresh and just add a little bit more product, a little bit of water, and you should be good to go. I have a video on refreshing that I will link below as well. But there's tons of different methods of refreshing, but there are other ways to try to extend your style longer, so maybe I will do another video on that as well, but I highly recommend a satin bonnet to preserve your style. You can also use a satin pillowcase. So some people prefer to just sleep on the satin pillowcase and then wear their hair up in a pineapple, which is just a really loose scrunchie on top of your head to keep your hair off your neck. I find that that stretches out my curls too much because I do have fine curly hair, so it can be stretched out really easily, so I prefer the bonnet to keep it up tight to my head and keep those curls defined. The other tool would be a hair repair towel or a t-shirt. So I used just a cotton t-shirt to dry my hair for the longest time, and then I discovered the hair repair towel, which is basically a giant cotton towel. It's really important to not use a regular bath towel on your hair because it's too heavy. It's gonna break off your hair, cause tons of frizz and friction, especially with curly hair when it's wet. It's really prone to breakage and damage. And again, I have a whole video on breakage and frizz and stuff, so I will put that down below if you're interested. And I talk about how to prevent tangles. So if you find that your hair gets really tangly, then you definitely want to switch to using just a regular flat cotton towel or just an old t-shirt. Always does the job. One other tool that I wanted to mention that I think will help you out tremendously, especially if your hair is just falling flat and it's not as curly, is the Denman brush. I talk a lot about this in the video that I did on how to make your hair curlier. There's tons of tips in there, and I think that will also be useful if you struggle with kind of getting through the awkward phase where your hair is not quite curling back up yet, or it's damaged so it's looking a little bit straight. I think the Denman brush is really going to help you guys out, and you can see how I use that as well as all the other tips in that video on how to actually make your hair curlier. So a couple other tips that's going to help is just try to stay as consistent as possible. It's really hard to push through this, and it's really important to just stick to it, because once you can get past that part of transitioning, then you're going to really love your curls. So for that, I recommend tracking your progress. Take pictures of your hair. I wish I had more of my hair throughout the entire steps. I did dig up a couple of them. I did a video all about my curly hair journey and the transitioning process, so I will link that as well down below. But it's nice to kind of keep track of your progress. You can look back at old photos and see how much your hair has changed already and the difference. Even maybe once a month, it's just really nice to kind of look back and see and kind of track your progress. You can also follow different people on Instagram. That's one way that I love to get inspiration. I follow a lot of girls that have similar hair texture to me. But it's also important to not, look too much into people that have a totally different hair type than you. So I'm personally never gonna get type 3C or 4A curls that are really tight. My hair is never going to look like that, so it's kind of pointless for me to strive to have that hair texture or worry about why does my hair not look that tight when it's never going to look like that. So by following people that have a similar hair type to you, you'll get that inspiration, but then you won't feel as bad, about your hair type, and you'll be more comfortable with it as well. And that's a good way to kind of keep it top of mind when you're seeing them in your feed and stuff. They're sharing inspiration. And you can check out my Instagram page. I do try to share tips and stuff. If you have similar hair to me, then hopefully you'll find my page helpful. Another thing that I wish I did was write down the products that I used in those photographs that I took. So a lot of times I'll look back at photos when I'm doing different styles. I'm like, what did I even use? Because I like how my hair looked. And depending on what type of product you use, whether if you use a cream and a gel or a mousse or whatever, your hair always turns out different, and sometimes I'll like how my hair looks in a photo or not as much in another one, and I wish I knew what I actually used that day, so it's hard to remember. So writing that down and keeping track definitely helps. And the last and final tip is obviously to be patient. It is so hard. I know it takes a long time. I know a lot of you also asked on Instagram about different protective styles, or how can you actually go out and feel confident if your hair is looking really bad when you're first transitioning. I might do another video on like how you can kind of try to style it when it is and it's kind of awkward stage in between, but I definitely recommend getting that trim. That's gonna make a big difference. I don't recommend wearing your hair up all the time though. I think that just leads to more breakage. I used to do that and I have a ton of breakage that just never grows back out. So you can do a lot of damage to your hair. So I highly recommend using satin scrunchies or fabric scrunchies over really tight ponytail holders. So that definitely makes a big difference, but there are different styles that you can do. I'm sure you can search and find different protective styles, but I think just trying to stick with it and just know that it's not gonna look like that forever, and just try to get the best out of each wash day and know that it's gonna get better. So that is all the steps that I'm going to detail today. As always, feel free to message me on Instagram or shoot me an email if you have more questions, and I will try to link you to products that I recommend and stuff. But again, I might do another video on that because I think that would be more helpful to have everything in one place with all my product recommendations, whether that be drugstore or high-end. So So I'm gonna list out all of these steps on the blog post that goes with this video, as well as any products that I mentioned. Those are all always linked on that blog post, which is the first link in the description box below the video if you click down below. And also, if you have not yet subscribed, I would love to have you join my YouTube family and check out the other videos as part of this series. I think they will definitely help you out if you are transitioning your hair, and I hope to see you back next week. Bye everyone.